No, that was
Fans, we are live once again with another edition of the Cheap Heat Productions Wrestling Podcast. My name is Jack Kilby, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling, and we're very pleased tonight to welcome two very long-standing independent talents, not only in terms of the East Coast, Mid-Atlantic area, but also Midwest, but individuals that have also competed in the WWF during that golden era. And I'm talking about the returning Lou Marconi and, for the first time ever, Frank Stilleto. Thank you, folks. How are you doing?
fine, thanks.
Doing great, man. Thanks for having us.
Well, we appreciate it. Frank, can you start off by letting the fans know how you and Lou know each other?
God. Well, I want to say we met in a locker room at a show, and we realized that we lived nearby each other. I want to say it was maybe 20-minute drive with traffic.
Yeah.
And from that point on, we, communicated together because, it was, hey, you knew someone that was nearby.
Yeah, we were able to, it made economic sense for us to travel together. We switch off on cars, split trans. It's just, if you get a group of guys to meet in one area and take one car and just go, it's kind of, it helps. It helps chip in on gas, food, everything. It's very helpful.
Plus the camaraderie, we'd be talking about stuff, and, it's
to shoot the shit.
We're both Cleveland sports fans, amongst other things,
Yeah. Well, it's a long drive. You need somebody to talk to. Sometimes you
it
just
helps
do.
keep you awake.
Yeah, it does, especially late at night. I remember those times. Yeah. But so that's how so I think it was it was my first show. My first match was in '93 in Plymouth, Ohio. He was training with Kid Collins, and I was training with Charlie Fulton, and they worked together and they ran shows together at both wrestling schools. That was the first time I met him. And I lived in Brooklyn, Ohio, which was a west side suburb of Cleveland, and he lived in Lakewood, Ohio. So we're west side suburb. We live real close to each other. It just made economic sense. We've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the best man at my wedding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been married for what? Let me see. There it is. Been married for over 10 years now. Yeah. 2 daughters.
Awesome. Can you let the fans know about some of your history as a team? I know you've tagged up quite a bit, as well as faced each other in singles. But in terms of your work in the ring, if you could give the fans an outline of that, that would be great.
Well, I mean, we're Steel City Tag Champs.
Yeah, that
forever and a day.
Wasn't that like a last minute booking thing from Norm Connors?
I think so.
Yeah, because we feuded with each other a lot, and something had to go. He had to book on the fly because there was a weather problem, because we were in Northwest Pennsylvania, and that's you get snow, a foot of snow within hours.
Yeah,
and something happened where somebody couldn't make it, so he decided to hey, we're gonna do an impromptu, you team up with Frank that night, and you guys are gonna work together. You don't quite trust each other, but we won the tag belts that night.
Yeah.
And that's the way it kind of went.
And Stevie and Meanie.
Yeah, Stevie and Meanie. Yeah, Stevie and Meanie. God bless them.
Yeah, there was some. Stevie and I were the tag champs.
Yeah.
And he turned on me, and from there, we had to do something.
We had to do an angle. Yeah, we had to do an angle. I think something. If Norm was here, he probably would remember.
Yeah.
But something went wrong, and we had a great time. I remember we couldn't even drive out of that town. We had to stop at a hotel, and we all kind of got together and partied at this hotel bar afterwards, because there was just tons of snow. It was a November show, but it was just.
I think it snowed 6 inches during the show.
Yeah. We didn't have a snow brush for the car.
Yeah.
So we got the janitor's broom.
Yeah, we were using the broom to clean off the car.
People were coming to me saying, "Hey, how's it feel to be a tag champ?" I said, "I don't care. I want to get somewhere warm. I'm freezing."
Yeah,
we were hungry. We wanted to get something to eat, something to drink, and just kind of crash roll somewhere warm. Yeah. I remember that show.
Yeah, those were good times, though. It's just I can't impress upon people how much fun it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. And the thing is, you're working with someone else. And even in today's world, it's just working with people can be a struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just everybody had a positive attitude, you know, to, hey, let's get from point A to point B.
Yeah, I think too back then, I'm going to say that not some people aren't going to like what I have to say, but you could show up at a show with your bag and meet that person that night and have a 10-minute match with them and not have, and because you both know how to work, it's not a problem. You know, you didn't have to rehearse your match for 3 weeks before the show.
I mean, there was a bunch of times I've worked with people where you know, where as much as I told the guy was, I'll talk through the ref. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll go from there.
Referee's the most important person out there. Absolutely. I will say that over and over because they make it look legitimate and they're good go-to in between. Like if he's on the outside of the ring and I'm about to do something or bring him in the hard way, tell him we'll bring him in the hard way. I'll tell the ref to go out there and reach, hey, you know, he'll convey. He's really good at doing messages. Yeah. Tony Villado was very good at that. Yeah. There's a lot of good referees. And Chris Wood became a good referee.
Yeah, Chris actually became a very good referee.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good referees I worked with.
And we've also run into what?
Yeah. What's that?
What are you talking about?
Fuck it. Headlock takeover. We'll talk. just do something. You know.
Sometimes you have to take something.
Well, oh my God, of course.
Do you think that the independent wrestling in this current era has suffered just by that, the loss of even on the indie level, not including, you know, the big companies where, you know, you've got your every maneuver and spot laid out for you, but do you think independent wrestling has suffered in terms of that inability that some have just to put a match together and go out and call it in the ring?
Well, you know, even
he's trying to be nice.
You know, even 10 years ago, I mean, even 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's just the general lack of respect for the business. You know, I mean, you know, to borrow, you know, the words of the Iron Sheik, the late great Iron Sheik.
Yeah.
You have to respect the business. And
God bless Oz.
You know, but a lot of that in general, you have that in the world today.
Yeah.
You know, where people just don't. You have to be respectful of people.
Right, and respect the locker room too. I think,
yeah,
you know, that because there's times I remember I was talking to Zoltan about almost like 13 years ago. Like there was guys that didn't respect the locker room then, and it's even worse now. I think
people wouldn't, you know, it was just people wouldn't come up to you and shake your hand and say hello.
Okay, let me give you a good example of this because when we did WWF, because you kind of mentioned that we did do WWF, we always came together. We always traveled together. When Gurria would call us, he'd say, bring Lou, bring Frank, whatever. We went. And after a while, because of how respectful we were in the locker room, they liked us. They opened up to us. We did our jobs. We kept our mouths shut. We did our jobs. But I think the one time, I think you had a couple matches in one night, and this is the honest to God's truth. He goes, you're going over. Frank was going over in a match. He goes, pick who you want to work with. I'm sitting there in street clothes in front of the monitor. He goes, I want Lou. And he goes, Lou, you got to put me over. And Gurria said, get your stuff on. You got 5 minutes. So him and I could have went out there and had a match in our sleep because we worked each other so many times. It's not a big deal. But he could have done that with anybody. He could have. And he just picked me because he knew we were most comfortable with each other.
I mean, we worked a lot together and, you know, it was just comfort level.
It was,
you know, because you never know what could happen. I mean, it was a dark match.
But if I would have hesitated for 1 second or 1 iota, they would have said, sit down, or you go. They don't care. You're just another body to them. So I knew that. I jumped. Remember how quick I jumped? I said, all right, I'll be ready.
Yeah.
Didn't even hesitate. I got it. We're going.
Now there are people that, you know, they put you on the board against, you know, other indie guys. And I was like, I'm sitting there praying. I'm like, oh God, please no. Please no. Please let's not have time for this. You know?
Yeah. Where they just put you on the board. Remember that? Oh shit. Was that West Virginia with Gurria caught us trying to leave?
Yeah, Huntington.
We weren't on the board.
Well, Tom Brandy was leaving. So,
Tom was on. He was on his way out anyway. I think at that time.
Yeah, a few months later, he was gone.
Yeah, but it was just kind of. He was. I'm not on the board. Fuck it. He left. I said, look. I said, well,
we're not on the board.
We're not on the board. We can go. And Gurria said, hey, I'm putting you on the board. Get back there and get
Yeah.
dressed. As soon as we walked back in the locker room, like it was Scorpio, Mark Undertaker,
Yeah.
Triple H, all of them were just laughing at us. They're like, they caught you trying to sneak out.
Yeah.
I think Foley was there too, man.
Yeah.
We're like, that was what, 97?
I think that was 97.
Yeah, 97-ish. Yeah, it was a Monday Night Raw. And then he was, Korea was pissed. He was mad at us.
You guys think you could just come in here, just collect and leave, you know?
And like, all right, well, you didn't put us on the
You
board.
didn't put us on the board. We didn't see our names.
We didn't see our names. The show, he had like, a half hour left in the show,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, he put us on the bottom.
He put us on the very bottom. So we were stuck until after they were done. It was just, I think we stopped and ate somewhere. And then this is honestly, this was back when you can buy mini thins at a truck stop. He crashed. I drove back to Cleveland on Mountain Dew and mini thins, and I was like shaking while holding the wheel of the car. But I basically drove overnight back home.
Yeah.
And then that was that story. A lot of those interesting times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Frank, I understand that you had a TV match against the late Yokozuna, and wanted to ask your experience there. I've talked to a couple of workers that faced him in the ring. Some had decent experiences, others not so much. I'm thinking about Strangler Steve King being one of them, who's quite open about his experience with Yokozuna. How was yours in the ring?
Great. I told him I knew Charlie Fulton, and he was. I mean, that was the icebreaker.
Yeah. Charlie
he was a little. I guess he was trying to explain to me that when they pulled his hair back, I guess it can be quite painful. And he was just telling me about it, and I'm like, don't worry about it. We'll just make it work.
Was he stiff with you at all?
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, I can't think, because I know you had Leon another night.
Yeah,
that was
I had two experiences with Leon.
That's
one stiff and one light as a feather.
Yeah, and that was the night because
I was like the second time I was like,
really? I showed up. I got there before him for some reason. I was in Cleveland. I got there before you, and Gurria told me to pick. Do you want Ron Simmons or do you want Vader? I said, I'll take Ron. I didn't even hesitate. I took Ron, and I went to introduce myself to Ron. And Ron gave me a 2 count that night. Did you know that? Yeah, it was my hometown. I don't know why he did it. I'm like, kick out. I'm like freaking out almost. Like, I'm gonna get so much. I thought I'd be killed if they let me pin him. But he kicked out. I remember even like Cornette and
That was the show where they were trying to tell T Tarantula not to look like a biker.
Yeah.
And I said to Cornette, I go, Jim, he came out of his mother's womb looking like a biker.
like a Harley Davidson jacket.
Because they had the DOA, the Harris twins there and everything.
It's like, don't look like a biker.
Yeah, try not to look like a biker. Really?
Wow.
So, but yeah, because I remember that I had Ron Simmons that night. Ron was fine with me; he was cool. But Leon was like real light with you. The first time he was stiff as shit.
Yeah.
The first time I had nothing to do with him.
I think it was part of an angle because he was working. I want to say he was going to be on a pay-per-view with Shamrock is what it was.
Oh, so he was purposely.
So I think there was a reason for that.
Because if he started hurting job guys at Vince, like enhancement guys with Vince, like he did it with Turner, Vince wouldn't have put up with it.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing too. He dropped me. Very, very squarely. I mean,
he wasn't trying to hurt you.
He wasn't trying to hurt me.
Yeah.
Let me put it to you that way. You can work snug and you can work stiff, but he wasn't trying to hurt me.
Were you there? I told Maurice this story with the Mark Henry incident with me. Were you there for that? I think you were.
I might have been.
Yeah. This
I can't remember.
Well, this was 96. I told Maurice this story. This was 96. It was right after SummerSlam. Mark Henry came in. He kind of had a spot. He was still training. They were trying to teach him and train him before shows. And he had 5 different guys telling him 5 different things. It actually took him to go to OVW with Danny Davis and Rip Rogers to kind of straighten him out and get him going, which was probably the best thing for him, was to go down there and learn how to work. But he had kind of, I don't know, he kind of had an attitude about him. So I'm standing at the rundown sheet. I'm trying to see what hour I was working, and I knew I was working Steve Austin that night. Okay. And I'm like, okay, so I got.
Well, that was Cincinnati. Then.
That was Cincinnati. Yeah, that was Cincinnati. And all of a sudden, I feel this guy walk by and he throws his shoulder into me. Do you remember that? And I'm I turned around and I looked at him. I'm like, well, what the fuck was that? And he kind of looks at me and I said, fuck you. I just don't know. No, you don't do that shit. I don't think he knew. You can't just do that. You treat everybody like equals. We treat each other with respect. And I said, before you take another step, I know how to wrestle and you don't. That's what I said to him. And he walked away. And I'm like, motherfucker. I was mad. But then I remember I worked the match with Steve, and Steve was laying it in, but that had nothing to do with that. Steve was hyped up because this was going to air.
He had a thing with Pillman.
He had the thing with Pillman, but he was wrestling Bret Hart at Survivor Series, and that match aired 3 weeks before he worked Bret Hart at Survivor Series. So I took that as an honor that they put me in the ring with him on TV like that before a big match. But he was laying it in, which was fine. I was fine, but Vince made him apologize.
But here's the thing too. I mean, sure, you work with guys that laid it in and stuff.
It's for TV. Yeah.
First of all, it's for TV.
Yeah.
But other times, you got guys that cry about little things.
Fuck.
I remember Jimmy Lee told me the one time, he's like, we were just explaining something, and he's, and he's like, well, if someone can't take this, they don't belong. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's just that simple. We're bigger people. We're not fragile, or you shouldn't be.
No.
Yeah.
You can't.
Well,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Wrestlers used to be bigger people. I would say there's.
Yeah, you're right.
That
we were
definitely
told we were too small.
Yeah, we were told we were too small.
We were, and now I look at these guys, and you got Daniel Bryan's like half my size, if that.
Darby Allin.
What?
Darby Allin.
Yeah, another one. I mean, Mike from Parma is.
Yeah,
he's from Parma. Yeah. I remember. I think I cut a promo on him once. I said, I've been kicking guys' asses from Parma my whole life, so you don't scare me. I said something like that to Mike. Yeah, which is fine. I mean, I knew his dad too. I know Mike. It's just it's always Mike to me. It's kind of funny. God, who's the other guy that's real small that we were just kind of looking around how does this guy?
Oh, the Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, well, Ziggler. Yeah, Ziggler was a good wrestler at St. Ed's, and he was a really good wrestler. At Kent. Yeah, so he had. I mean, but
he had his younger brother.
Yeah. Oh, Ryan. Yeah, Ryan. I think didn't he have problems with the training people at Florida with Bill DeMont?
Okay.
There was that scandal. He was part of that. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Bill, I don't know what Bill was doing. I wasn't there. So there's ways to train people because I've trained guys. Eric. The Viking Raider is Ray Rowe. I broke in Ray.
Wow.
Yeah, so I knew Ray when he was 17, and he was a student at St. Ignatius High School. I helped break him in. He knew how to wrestle. Ray knew how to wrestle. I had to teach him how to work. I had to teach him how to understand the psychology of putting a match together. And yeah, you know what I wish was around when we broke in the early 90s? We didn't have YouTube. You had old VHS tapes you can watch matches and kind of get an idea. But, man, we didn't have podcasts of guys that had all this knowledge that are just telling you this stuff. You could listen to that and just pick up on what they're saying and get it.
Definitely.
Okay, the night I dropped the NWA national belt, it was about a little bit over 8 years ago. It was in Nashville, Tennessee. I dropped it to Jack Stain. In that locker room, okay, Tracy Smothers, Jerry Lynn, superstar Bill Dundee. You know who the only one was talking to him? Me. None of the other young guys in that locker room came over and even talked to them. You had
there's the respect thing.
I'm sitting there going, do you see the knowledge? Do you know the knowledge you have here? Just with Bill Dundee, much less Smothers and Jerry Lynn. And Jerry remembered from ECW, yeah.
the individual at AEW who the former world champion who indicated that he didn't need to talk to the veterans to pick up the knowledge.
Who was that? Who the fuck was that?
I even forget his name. He's so memorable. Cowboy. Jeez, it'll come to me.
I actually asked him when he got here because we haven't talked about right. We don't really watch AEW or WWE.
Yeah,
we don't.
Yeah,
we'll watch the old stuff. We'll watch some of the old.
Hangman Adam Page. There you go.
Adam Page. Adam Page. Yeah, he said that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did see an AEW commercial. Guy was doing a hurricanrana, and I looked at the guy that works for me. We were at a bar having lunch, and I go, "You see that? I used to be able to do that."
I used to be able to do a hurricanrana. When did you do a hurricanrana? I did it in my dreams, maybe. Remember my nickname?
Oh, Lead Bottom Lou.
Lead Bottom Lou. That was called Lead Bottom Lou.
That's awesome.
Jump worth this shit. But I did when I started throwing drop kicks. I was like, I come back to the locker. Did you guys see my drop kick? Did you guys see my drop kick? It was awesome. I can do it. I swear. But I was like Lead Bottom Lou. Yeah, Tim Harshman thought that was funny.
I wanted to ask you. Sorry, to go back to Vader. He had what was universally regarded as a disappointing run in the WWF, and a lot of that had to do with Shawn Michaels. I just wanted to get your opinion on that situation, if you have one, or any interactions that you may have had with Shawn.
You know what? My interactions with Leon, he was a nice guy to me.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was. Now, I mean, you heard all the things about Shawn back in the day. I'm sure it was, maybe whatever he was into or whatever. But we never really were close to them. We unless we were working with them that night, we really didn't interact that much. We just say, "Hey, what's up?" Yeah. So you know what? One time I overheard somebody ask him something about like a diet or food or something, and you know what? He seemed normal. He gave a smart answer. A good answer, I thought. And that was it. I never really interacted with him. No, we never worked with him, but I always felt like he was kind of, I said this before, I think if Shawn was here, he would admit to it. Back then, he kind of walked around, he carried himself like his shit didn't stink, and he walked right by you as if you weren't even there, but that was just him, and we were like, we knew that. We were just like, yeah, whatever. It wasn't a big deal. Yeah. Probably the most down-to-earth guy when we were there, and we were friends with him for years, was Mick Foley. Yeah. Mick Foley. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And then when, like Tom Brady was up there, we knew him. We knew Tom. D'Lo was a really nice guy. D'Lo was cool. Oh, yeah. I actually met D'Lo at a show in, Reading, Pennsylvania. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Was that for, Damien Kane? It might have been. Yeah. Yeah, it might have been. I think we were on the same show. Yeah. Yeah, I was there because I ended up working this guy's as a bad crew. I was me and some other guy. I ended up working. I was worried. I saw one podcast where Steve Austin was doing an interview how he's working Yokozuna and he accidentally shit himself because something to do. And I came real close that night because I couldn't find a bathroom, a shitter at that building. And I was so worried. That was the thing I was scared of. It's like, my bump, am I going to crap myself in the ring? That was my biggest fear in the bed. I didn't care about getting hurt. I just didn't want to shit. Well, and then the difference too there was that's when we first found that all the rings are just not all just like stiff like around where we started. Yeah. We were like, you took a bump and you're like, that's it. Wow, that's it. That's it. Yeah. But we had a lot of stiff rings in Ohio. Well, okay, so just so you know, like, you ever heard these horror stories back in the old days when you try to get into business, try to break in? Well, they have a way of weeding you out. Charlie's way, he didn't have a bunch of guys beat you up until you finally quit or kept coming back. Okay, we can do something with them. You bumped in his ring. And if you can take that, if you can train through that, then you're cut out to do it. That's the way he did it. The ropes were loose. You didn't. There was no. I'm going to jump up. I'm going to go to the top rope. Yeah.
Frank, about 3 years older than me, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So he started training I was 19 when I started training in 93, and I was naive. I didn't know shit. And I was just a kid. And I'm bumping in this ring, and it's hard as hell, and the ropes hurt, all this. I'd get home and I'm like hunched over, but I kept coming back. After about a month, I think Billy, one of the trainers, kind of smartened me up, saying, "Yeah, not all the rings are like this. This is a training ring." I'm like, "Oh, okay, good. I might actually be able to walk in my 30s. All right, that's good to know." It was just like, all right, good. Well, it was just kind of, but then because when I started working independent shows, I think it was about. I started working matches at about 2 months after I started training. I was working matches 2 months after training, which was crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, because well, my first match was a battle royale, which was on my 20th birthday, and then a week later, I think I saw you at JT Lightning's Cleveland All Pro show at the WrestlePlex in Cleveland. I ended up wrestling with Thin Pizza, Sin Panza. Sin Panza was his name. He was a little Puerto Rican guy, beat. And then
kind of like the size of most guys now.
Yeah, he was. It didn't make sense for him to go over on me. It didn't. It just I said, "What do you want?" He goes, "Yeah, you go over however you want." That's all it was. That was the instruction I got for the match, and I was like, green as grass. But when I started working other matches, I said, this is nicer. Okay, yeah, here we go. It was like
what it was they were Ted Petty rings. Ted Petty had like 4 rings, and he had a nice setup. He was in the moving business because I got to know him later on. And, so he set up the truck so it was easy to unload and everything. And, dude, they were beautiful. They were real soft rings. Real soft rings.
Yeah, they were nice. The Ted Petty's rings were nice. Yeah. I think the ECW ring was really soft. That surprised me. Back in the day, though, those WWF,
I think that was originally a Ted Petty ring because he was actually supplying the ring at the beginning for them.
Yeah, well, but also the WWF rings, they were stiffer than normal independent rings.
Yeah.
I remember back, here's a 22 by 22 ring. Yeah. It's a big ring. It was stiff. They didn't start lightening up the rings until Vince started bumping in them. Well, what a surprise.
Yeah. That's funny how that works.
Yeah, when the boss starts bumping in, hey, we gotta soften that ring up. Yeah.
I'll get to the question from Maurice in a minute, but you mentioned Vince McMahon there. Did both of you, did you have any notable interactions with him during your tenure there?
He said hello.
Yeah, he said hello. The one time I had my match with Mark Merrow in Columbus, and he was going through something where he was like on headset and he was getting more involved in production stuff. And after the match, he took off his headset, he looked at me and said, "Thank you very much." I said, "Thank you for having me." And that's all I said. I kept going. I went and shook Mark's hand, and Sable was with them then. And I said, "Guys, thank you. It was a blast." Because I think what it was is that was right after the SummerSlam when Mark worked Goldust. And this is one thing that the boys liked about me. I could say, was that if I saw something they did that I thought would get them over on TV, I'd make sure we do it in the ring. We do it on TV, which was, he did that shooting star press on that. And it was, people popped when he did it on Goldust. So I told him, I said, finish me with that. He looks at me, "Are you sure?" And I said, yeah, I'll take it. No problem. He's like, "All right." He's like, he was surprised. He was like really happy I was willing to take it because I guess not too many people were comfortable with it. And I just knew the key to it, whenever you take a splash like that, you got to rise up to absorb the shock. And that's what I did. And yeah, Mark was great. Mark and I had a really good match that night. He's one of the best human beings I've ever met there. He was really a nice guy. I like Mark Merrill. So yeah, but that was my only interaction with Vince was that, really. I never really talked to him. The only people
talked to Shane for a few minutes one time. It was just Shane, cordial, like, how you doing?
I got a story with Shane. Go ahead.
That was it. I mean, human being,
Yeah. This was back in '99 when those Bluetooth things were new.
Yeah.
So Shane's sitting in a chair. He's by himself in this area in the backstage area. I'm walking by and I hear him talking. I can't tell he had something in his ear. And I thought he was talking to me. I was like, what? Sorry. What do you need from me? And he just kind of waved, like, "Go away." I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "What the?" I'm like, I thought I was crazy. I was like, "Did I do something wrong?" I was like, because I thought he was talking to me, but he had the Bluetooth in his ear. It was brand new technology at the time. I'm like, dude, talk on the phone like a normal person, so I know you're not talking to me. I'm just sitting here thinking.
I still find that disconcerting. Maurice wanted to ask about your thoughts on Ric Flair and Sting and his sentiment there. Did you see that last night? Flair debuted in AEW and is going to somehow be involved in Sting's retirement angle.
Oh, okay, good for
hey.
Flair needs a payoff.
Well, I'm sure of that, but at the same time, I mean, you know, Sting's comfortable with them. You know?
Yeah, Steve. Yeah, good for Steve. Good for Rick.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think there was something recent that Dutch Mantel was talking about. Like Flair was talking, and he was just like babbling. Like, was he drunk or just senile? I'm not sure what it was, but you know, I really look at Flair. He was somebody we idolized, and we like, my God, we wish we could work like this guy. This guy, I mean, he goes out there, put on our Broadways like it was nothing
with a broomstick.
It was nothing, and this guy could do it like it was nothing. And it just that the thing is that he had all this other discipline in his life, but he wasn't good with his money, and he wasn't good with his family or with women in his life or with alcohol. I mean, he had all this other discipline to keep himself fit, to keep himself ready. He could go. He didn't miss dates. He worked hurt. He put himself through all that, but he didn't have that. And it's like, man, that stuff's coming back to bite him in the ass now because he didn't save his money, and he didn't really take care of what's important. My priority in my life now, it's not going out winning title belts. It's not going out working matches. I'm a father first. You know, I have I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old daughter. I'm a husband. I have a wife. So it's just kind of like I'm taking care of my family now. The wrestling thing, my girls are old enough now to ask questions, and I'll answer them. But that's what I'm thinking. Just kind of getting away from Flair. I think. I hope it works out for him. I hope he does great. I mean, he's like a hero to us and to Frank. And it's just why couldn't he just save his money so he doesn't have to do this stuff anymore? And he can just enjoy his life.
Great stories.
Oh
my God, does he have great stories? I mean, I've heard him on.
Yeah, great story. I mean, he's been everywhere. Been with all of them.
Yeah.
He actually talked about like the loudest reactions he's heard while he's in the ring and they're coming to the ring, and he said 3 people. Let me see it. 3. It was Kerry Von Erich, Hulk Hogan, and Steve Austin that had the loudest eruption when they came to the ring. That's what he said. And I remember seeing that, and I was like, man, could you imagine being in the ring and the guy you're working and he's so over? You're like, this is easy. This is gonna be easy. I mean, you just know it's easy.
A night off, as they say. Did either of you have any? We talk a lot about guys that worked shots for the WWF during the era. They had some interactions with the Ultimate Warrior, some not notable, some not. Did either of you encounter Mr. Hellwig at all during your tenure?
No, he wasn't there when we were there.
No.
Okay.
No, he wasn't there. No, he was long fired at that point.
Yeah, he wasn't there.
Yeah, it was right. We came in on a regular basis around SummerSlam in '96.
Started like '94.
We each did some shots in '94.
Yeah.
But then really coming back regularly was '96, where they called us.
Yeah.
'94 was done through Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was green. I was green as grass when I did that. I'll never. Yeah, I got a whole story about that. But I mean, if you want to go.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it was what it was, but yeah, kind of more. Yeah, '96 it was more
regular,
more regularly.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that was Strongbow called my house, which surprised me.
Yeah, Strongbow would call you.
Yeah,
and then once Strongbow was, I don't know if I think he might have been gone already, but then Cornette would call you.
Yeah, Strongbow kind of retired. He had health issues, I think, at that time. He was like, yeah. I'm trying to remember. Remember the coolest part was Arnold Skolin with the pay table, and he had a cigar and his briefcase, and he'd pay us. And we're all in line waiting. Oh, yeah. Goulet too. Renee.
Renee and
Goulet, the way they yell at each other, it was awesome.
It was like the two old Muppets. It was hilarious.
And you couldn't laugh. You couldn't say a goddamn word when you're in there. You're just like. Then afterwards, we in the car, we're joking about it. We're like, "Dumb it, Renee!" The way you would yell at him.
Yeah.
I wish Tony would. I haven't.
Tony's still alive.
No, Tony's Goulet's not. Tony, but I think the last time he was at Cauliflower Alley Club. I think was that. Yeah, I haven't been to that in a long time. God, once the kid came around, I really stopped traveling when my first baby was born. But have you ever gone to CAC?
Yes. Yep. I'm a lifetime member. I was last there in 2019, and we're going this next upcoming reunion, and we're going to be covering it for Cheap Heat Productions and the Hannibal TV. So looking forward to that.
Cool. Yeah. I
Very
look
much.
forward to that. Yeah. One of these days, I mean, now that the girls are getting older, I might be able to make it out there. I mean, I haven't been a member because I kind of pay for this membership. I'm not going to come out. And I went there and I was representing the NWA when I was there because I was their national champion and Rob was the world champion at the time. God, what was I going to say? There was the first, because I like to tell this story. Like the first year that I had in the pro wrestling business was probably my toughest. I think anybody would say that because you're not established. Nobody knows who you are. You kind of show up at shows hoping
it's a new experience.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes dealing with people and understanding, you know, where they're going or whatever, and
their agendas,
what your place is there, you know,
and learning to respect things. Because I'm not saying I was treated badly at the wrestling school, but it was kind of, I didn't think anybody liked me. But it was just that I had to prove myself. That's what it was. Which is, you know, it's probably good that I did that because anywhere I went where I was new, I kind of understood that. Like, okay, shake hands, be cool, you know your place, get your spot in the locker room, introduce yourself. You're just as good as they are. You're no better than they are. They're all your equals. That's how I kind of learned that. But I remember like before, that was 94, and I was wrestling for about a year. I was working a year, and I got sent to WWF. Gurria asked all of us, like, how long you been working? I said a year. I was honest. I didn't want to lie. And they said, why did you say you should have said 2? I was like, but Gurria said, get your stuff on, get in the ring with Derek. Derek Stone was the other guy. Do a couple spots and see what you can do. And he goes, okay, you're working tonight. So I was like, all right. And now I'm getting Bob Holly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was Sparky Plug at the time. And this is just it's kind of a long story, but it makes sense if I explain this to you, because what I did was I told this story before, and Bob's a great guy, okay, but he was really green at the time. This was 94. Chris Hamrick was back there, and Chris and I have been friends ever since. I kind of said, hey, what do you know about this Sparky Plug guy? And he goes, oh my God, he sucks. I'm like, what do you mean? Tell me more. I'm like, I gotta work this guy. He's like, he's gonna throw you off the ropes and not say a word to you. He's gonna be stiff with his elbow. He's gonna be stiff with his knee, and just, you know, man, just beware. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. So I get out there. I talked about it. We go through a few things that he wants to do. We get out there. He whips me off the ropes. He's trying to call the spot, and then I saw him set up for an elbow, so I took the bump. And then he picked me up, and he was going to do it again. I just said, I'm halfway across there, and I said, drop kick me. Boom, he drop kicks me. Then I started calling stuff. I just kind of did what I was trained to do. But before I went out there with Charlie, because I'm there representing the school, they pulled me aside, and they said, you don't act like an asshole. You be professional. Do as you're told. Don't make us look bad. I'm like, okay, sorry. I'm like, all right, no problem. So I did. So
it's all common sense.
It's all common sense stuff, but they're pretty much letting me know you're new, you're the rookie. Don't be an idiot. All right. Don't do something stupid. Don't make Charlie look bad. He's putting his neck out for you. Then so I'm halfway through the match, and you know this could have been a complete dumpster fire. He gave me a spot to get a couple shots in. We go corner to corner. I might have laid a few more in than I should have. Because I wanted to get something in, but I went corner to corner. I come running in, and Bob throws this kick at me in my face, and he just, I mean, I was like, I saw the white flash. I saw my white flash. He almost knocked me out, but I could feel the blood trickling out, and the crowd just was like, I could hear the crowd react, but I couldn't see him. It was one of those, oh my God, he killed him. And then he went, and he's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, let's keep going. But the camera shot went wide because the blood was coming down my face. And I kept calling the man, say, hey, let's take it home. He's like, yeah, let's take it home. He apologized to me for it later. I had to put a butterfly inside my lip because of the kick. Everybody came up to me and asked me if I was okay. I said, yeah, I'm fine. I didn't complain. I didn't say anything. The referee in that match was, I think it was Earl Hebner.
Oh, wow.
It was Hebner was the referee. He went to Gurria and he said, the kid called the match, and he walked away. And I heard him do that, and Gurria just nodded. And I guess Gurria called Charlie and said, for him being as green as he was, being put in that position, he couldn't have handled himself any better, which it wasn't fair. It wasn't a fair situation, but could you imagine one of these guys today that really weren't trained on call stuff in the ring being put in that position in front of? I'm trained. I'm not even old enough to drink yet. Okay, I'm not. And I might have had like 5 or 10 matches under my belt. I'm in front of 10,000 people being taped for national TV, and that right there, because right after that happened, I guess word got back to the people at the school. I was in.
Nice.
That was my moment. So sometimes I always kind of look at this, like if I'm going through something difficult for any reason, whether it's something with the job or something with my life or anything, you kind of wonder what you always ask yourself, man, what am I supposed to learn through this? What am I supposed to get out of this? So what I got out of that was, and Bob and I were cool ever since, because he thanked me for the match. He apologized. I said, I'm fine, man. Thanks. No problem. But when I got into that car, remember for years, I motherfucked that guy left and right. I was pissed because I was like, what the hell? I had to call the match. God damn it. But, you know, Bob stayed there, and he even talks about it. Like, I guess that was like the worst time of his life when he was there. He hated it because he was scared for his job. You know, he goes, Vince will look at me sideways. Now, I guess now he works as a welder, and he's got a family, and he's happy. It's good for him, man. God bless him. I hope he's doing great. I hope he is. But I know I kind of got long-winded on this story, but I always like to tell people, especially when things aren't necessarily fair, which happens all the time. You might look back on this and go, man, there was a reason why I went through that. There's a reason. I had to learn a lesson through this. So that's usually what life throws at you. And I think Frank would agree too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and he remembers.
You just have to miss the bus that's going to drop on you. That's all.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Frank, I wanted to ask you about a match you had in '98 with the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom at that time with Sonny. What was I was a long-standing fan of them growing up. Had a picture in my locker room, was pushing the weights, wanted to be, Hawk and Animal. What was it like working with them at that stage of their career, which wasn't the best?
Well, it was pretty quick. It was a short match, but we talked to Joe, and I mean that just right there. What a gentleman. I mean, just what a gentleman, I mean, I maybe talked a couple words back and forth with Hawk, but really it was all Joe. And I asked him about taking the Doomsday device, and he's like, he just looked at me and said, "Don't worry, I will protect you." That's all I needed to hear.
Yeah. That's good that they actually said that. Don't want to protect you.
And he explained it to the mechanics of how that works and everything.
Yeah, because it's not that hard to do. I mean,
he just kicks your legs up in the air,
so you don't land on your head.
Exactly.
Your momentum takes you over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And and that's something that Charlie Fulton always said: don't take anything the guy can't tell you how to take.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I remember when I had runs with his finisher, I wasn't sure, but he kind of explained it to me, and I just was okay. A lot of times I'll do this, like especially when it's for TV or real important. I'm like, walk me through this. I kind of get so I can figure it out in my head. How do we do this? And most of the time they want to. I want to make sure I do it right. I want to make sure you look good giving it to me. So how do we? Well, walk me through it. They're cool with it. They're like, yeah. Let's find a place with some room.
Joe was total gentleman.
Yeah, Joe and Mike were always cool when I was there. I never worked with them, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that was actually the day that Tom Brady walked out of the WWF. Because I was going up. It was in
where?
So it was in New York, not upstate New York, but it was Syracuse. It was in Syracuse at the and I was going up the steps. He was coming down the steps, and hey, how you doing? And he goes, "I'm out of here." I go, "Oh, they don't have you working today?" He goes, "No, I'm done." He goes, he just wanted to be used more, I guess. Is what he elaborated to me, and then I'm sure I'll see you down the line here.
Yeah,
on some indie show.
He went back to doing indies after that.
Yeah.
Now, was that because there was a guy that when we watched the doc, Bigger, Faster, Stronger, Mike Bell.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first watched it, I said, we met him. And
we met him.
We met, I think was there. I think he anytime we were up in state New York, Mike was around. And that's where
he might have been on the show.
I think he was. I think
probably.
But because we just I said, I know that guy. I saw it. I said, I know that guy. It was just interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's no longer with us, unfortunately.
Yeah. Sad story and sad documentary in some ways.
A lot of
Lou, I wanted to ask you about a match that you had with Brian Pillman. It was a Superstars taping in '97. And what do you think of how Pillman Jr., I'm not sure if you're aware of how he's being presented, but he's getting the Michael McGillicuddy treatment, and they've given him a different name. And anyway, just wanted to get your thoughts on working Pillman and then his son, if you had any interaction.
Actually, Frank will back me up on this story. I got Pillman that night, and I was talking to Mick Foley about it, and he goes, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "He's not one of our best workers right now, and I don't know if it'll help you." And I looked at Mick, and I said, "Mick, I'm not in a position to say no. I can't say no here. I have to do it." So I was cool with it. And I talked with Brian, and he had that voice, and he was walking around. I said he didn't want to do much. And which kind of surprised me. I'm flying Brian. I'm thinking in my mind, he's going to want to do a bunch of high spots, all this stuff. I'm going to take all these cool moves. He goes, "I'm too old for that now," which is post-accident, and he was not in the best of health, to say that. And all I remember being in the ring with him, I remember Owen Hart that night said, "You got Brian tonight?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Don't let him spit on you," which he ended up spitting on me anyway. And he just wasn't in the best of health. I remember being in the ring with him, working with him, and I'm thinking, like, this guy should not be in the ring. He had to take a lot of drugs to get through it, but he was doing it to feed his family, and I can respect that. But I think if he would have done something else, like worked in an insurance office, found something else to do, he'd still be alive. Great guy. He gave me a little bit, very little bit, but I mean, I was putting him over. I knew it, and him and I worked together. Had a good match with him, and I remember afterwards. Do you remember that we're in the locker room area, and in the locker room area, we can hear him dry heaving in the bathroom. Brian, and he was like, like you sound like he was dying, and we were looking at each other like, should we get somebody? What should we do? But then we look across the room. There's Mick Foley and Shawn Michaels just talking to each other, and they're acting like it's no big deal. So we didn't get anybody. And I think it was like 2 months later, he died. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I remember just thinking, like, this guy shouldn't be in the ring. And if you recall that story, like when he was
vaguely,
yeah, because we were like,
I can't remember everything anymore, but you got to remember it was the 90s, the unprotected chair shots on TV shows,
Yeah, and he was a good dude. I mean, the match went great. I remember, like, he was light as hell. And I remember too, we were talking, like, because my back was a little bit sore, and he goes, "Yeah, I worked the show the night before," and it's like, "Oh, because it was an independent show." And I said, "Yeah, and you never know what kind of ring you're going to get in an independent show." He goes, "You never know what kind of worker either." I said, "That's true." I said, "That's true, Brian." But he was real happy with me, and him and I got along great. And I really I really wish he was still with us now with his son. Would McGill, like Curtis Axel treatment, if you want to call it that? Like, it's Kurt Henning's kid, and they want to call him Curtis Axel. And it killed him. It was stupid. I mean, Larry the Axe Henning's grandson. I mean, he's a third generation guy, and so what are they doing with him? It's sad. You know what? Can I just tell you what it is? It's just a symptom of what's wrong with WWE, and I'll say it. They have a bunch of people that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground about wrestling, right? These things. And they think it's a cool name and it's a cool gimmick, but they don't understand that there's a history and there's a lineage to this. And he is Brian Pillman Jr. He might want to try to do something without his father's name. I don't know. I've never met him. I never talked to him. I'm actually Facebook friends with Brian's sister, Linda, and and I feel for it because I hope it works. I could prove me wrong, gimmick, but it sounds like shit. Just listening to you, I cringed when I heard that. I was like, God, he can work. I watched him work, I mean, he's like, he's actually, he's bigger than his dad was. I think.
Yeah.
He's a little bit taller.
Right.
Yeah. Didn't God, that's so sad too because his mother passed away recently. Melanie did. Yeah, and I remember seeing the Dark Side of the Ring with them, and I couldn't believe how can I put this? I'm gonna be nice. She aged. The lifestyle she lived caught up with her. She ended up aging. Yeah, I'm getting a bunch of push notifications on my phone while you're doing this, but because she was gorgeous. I remember that Melanie was a beautiful woman. Yeah.
Tragic.
Brian, I hope it works out for him, but I just think it's a symptom of like these people that are writing these shows now. They're like college kids that don't know anything, and it's just they wouldn't have come close to being in a booking office 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It wouldn't never have happened. Never.
Yeah, it's almost setting somebody up for failure because they also want to own the intellectual property as well, right?
But that doesn't make any sense. You want to make money. You want to draw money. Do your best to draw money. Don't try to kill a guy just for the sake of killing it. That doesn't make sense to me. Do what's best to draw money. I mean, it's stupid. Like if for some reason, if Hogan's kid Nick wanted to work, are they gonna come up with some stupid gimmick name for him? If it was Nick Hogan, I mean, I don't know if he ever would, but it's just something like that. They have Reed Flair. I remember, God Lord rest his soul, but David wrestled for a little bit too. But if somebody that famous was my dad, that big of a name in the business was my dad, I don't know if I would have done it.
This isn't justifying it, but you got to remember too, it's a tough act to follow.
Very tough.
Maybe that could be one of the reasons. But.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a tough act to follow. I mean, look at David and Bruno Sammartino,
Oh, God. Oh, that's another experience.
Yeah. I wanted to actually ask you about that you guys had a match with David and the living legend Larry Zbyszko in 2010 WrestleFest, and that jumped right out at me. Can you talk about that one?
You go first. You go first.
That was
I was this close to kicking the shit out of David Sammartino.
Yeah.
Really?
So anyways, Lou and I traveled there and back. So I think I left my vehicle at Lou's house at the time.
I lived in Garfield Heights.
Yeah. And, we're getting out of the vehicle to grab our bags and, we're saying goodbye. And I'm like, Lou, do you know you got a boot print on your face?
Yeah, that's how stiff he was. He left his foot.
Yeah, his boot print was on Lou's face.
That's how stiff David was. Yeah. And I remember because
he didn't want to talk. He didn't want to talk out there, and I think he wanted to work an hour.
Yeah, he just kept going. He kept doing his own thing, and we're like looking at each other, like, what do we do?
I mean, it wasn't. And the thing was, after a while, the match isn't going anywhere. You're just, it's just a hamster on the treadmill,
Well, even Mick and Mick Foley was the referee of that match, and Mick was kind of like, what do we do? And I remember just telling him, I had him in a hold, and I'm like, Larry, just leave. Because the whole thing was
we're like, Larry, please leave.
Because we were, should I go now?
Yeah. Should I go now?
Just go. Because they're deaf. We could have called everything out loud.
Yeah, it was hearing impaired audience.
True.
But because the whole plan of the match was we were going to get a ton of heat on David. When it came time to give the hot tag, and everybody was expecting the hot tag, Larry leaves them. And then we come in and do. And I think something else happens. And we do a spot with Grog, and he gets the Mick Foley Sacco, the referee or something. That's what it was. And I remember, I don't even think I showered. I just changed my clothes and got in the car, and I just sat there. We didn't even talk to each other. We weren't mad at each other. We were just mad. Everybody knew we were pissed. Because I remember saying to Sean Patrick, the referee, I said, "Don't ever work your heroes," because we were excited. We were looking forward to it.
I love Larry. Larry's the
Larry
best.
Zbyszko. Yeah, and David said, "I get to work." The only reason why I didn't shoot on him was a respect to his father. I had so much respect for his dad, but I think everybody said Bruno wouldn't have cared if I did it. But we had opening spot worked out, and then we had one thing worked out. He came up to me and said, "Hey, let's do this instead." I said, "Okay, we can do that." And then when we went out there, he did what we originally planned. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, this is gonna be a long night. And that's what happened. Yeah, yeah, because it was just.
You know, the ironic thing about that though, the night before we worked the show, and two girls worked each other, and it didn't. And they didn't work together very well. One girl wanted to do one thing, the other girl wanted to do something else. And I remember kind of talking to the one girl. I go, hey, you know, sometimes you just gotta keep it simple. You know, if they don't want to do something, they don't want to do something.
You can't make them.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, that's their right not to take certain move or whatever. That's their, you know, they have a right to protect themselves, you know,
if they're not comfortable.
So, you know, it's kind of ironic that the next day it kind of happens to us.
Yeah. I remember just because he was doing all kinds of stuff. He kept like doing whatever he wanted, and we kept cutting him off.
Yeah, we kept on cutting him off, and it was just like, it's like, you know, the whole treadmill thing all over again. And it's just like, you know, you got to stop and just go to the end already.
It's just like, I just put him in a full Nelson and told Larry to leave. I said, just get out of here. Just go. I don't care. Then when he left, they reacted.
Yeah.
The crowd reacted. We're like, oh, okay, maybe it wasn't as bad as we thought.
Yeah.
It's just, and some people we saw what some people were saying about it online. They were like, oh, they got a ton of heat on David. And they thought the ring psychology was good. And I'm going, oh, okay, I guess so. I was like, all right. I kind of went, all right, I guess so. I guess it worked out. But
we tried to block that one out.
Yeah. But I was surprised. As soon as you said that, we kind of went, oh, Jesus. Yeah, and I think.
But Larry's awesome.
Larry was fun.
Yeah.
Larry was fun.
Larry's awesome.
He went outside and smoked a cigarette after he left. That's what he did. Like, thanks, Larry. Thanks for your help. Because he's in the corner going and looking at Mick saying, none of this makes any sense. It's like, tell us about it. There was like 5 of us on the same page. Then there was David that did whatever the fuck he wanted. And he was talking in an Italian accent the whole time.
Oh, yeah. He's from Pittsburgh, and he's talking in an Italian accent.
What's going on? I don't understand. And we're like,
come on, really?
We're like, why'd you steal your dad's accent?
Well, it could be that Pittsburgh education.
I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do? Yeah. I remember. Yeah, that was just like, he's trying to sound like Dominic DiNucci. Remember what did DiNucci say about him? Lord rest his soul. Love that man.
Oh, Dominic was awesome, and he'll tell you straight.
Yeah, David's a fucking dumb. He's a fucking dumb. That's what he said about David Sammartino. He's a fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This is maybe part of the reason why he didn't have a more successful career despite having the family name. Yeah.
Well, yeah. He was. Well, I remember, didn't he put over like a mid card job guy?
No, it was the Phantom Submission match with Ron Shaw.
Ron Shaw, yeah. Just he wasn't supposed to do that. And he just did it. And
because Ron even says he didn't know it was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had him in the barrack, and he just he submitted.
He submitted. The referee rang the bell, and it was like.
I think Ron Shaw was more confused than anything.
Yeah, it was just like, I think he did that just to spite his dad. Is that why he did that?
No, I think he's more spite. I think it was more to spite the office, and I think he left that night too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but the one thing when I did meet Bruno, that was
a nice guy.
Yeah, Bruno was cool.
Great guy.
And I didn't say anything about David when I talked to him. I think I met him before that match.
We met him like a couple years before, like 2007. Yeah. Remember when we were at that show in Franklin? Yeah. And it was really cool because when I introduced myself, I said, "Sir, it's an honor to meet you. My name is Lou Marconi." And he just like looks at me and goes, Lou Marconi, that's a great name, Lou Marconi. And I'm like, "Well, sir, that's my real name." He's like, it's even better. And he hugged me. I'm like, oh my, this is fucking Bruno Sammartino hugging me. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. I couldn't wait to tell my dad when I got him. Yeah, there was another guy, total gentleman.
Yeah,
total gentleman.
Great dude. And there's a lot of stories, like when he tells his stories about what he went through as a kid, that surprised me. Like
I was on my way to West Virginia, like the day after he passed, and I caught part of a Pittsburgh sports talk show.
Okay.
Sports talk radio station, rather. And the man on there was talking about Bruno, and he goes, Bruno Sammartino was a beautiful man. for everything, all the things he did for charitable organizations and everything, stuff people don't know about. And
yeah, he wouldn't be on Instagram showing people his generosity. He just did it. Yeah. That's really whatever, just when Frank does his stuff for his charities, I do mine for mine. I'm not on Instagram talking about it. I'm not doing it for the attention. I'm not doing it for the likes or anything. I do whenever I help out anybody or we help out each other, we do it just because it's the right thing to do. And that's I think more people to do that.
That's old school. We're almost burned through the hour, but I wanted to ask you one last question.
Please.
In 96, you both had a world tag team title shot in the WWF.
Yes.
On Superstars against the Smoking Guns. We wanted to ask you how that came about, and also your thoughts on Billy Gunn at 60 years old, looking like more than $1 million and still performing at a high level.
Amazing. He's an amazing athlete. Great guy.
Yeah.
Billy Gunn.
Yeah, they were nice. They were nice guys to us.
Sonny was with them too.
Sonny was with them. I don't think she said one word to us.
No, she had her agenda. If we couldn't advance her career, then she didn't bother with you.
Yeah.
But Chris, her husband, I knew him at ECW. Great guy. Chris was a great human being. And just to be honest, I mean, he deserved better than her. I'll say it. He did. He was a great human being, great guy, and I miss him. I really do. But that match, I think we were in the room when they had all the enhancement guys together, and they said, "Who here works as a tag team?" Frank and I raised our hand. They said, "Okay, you got the Guns tonight." I think that's how it happened.
I think that's how it happened.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I have a better memory than he does. But that's kind of how it happened. And then I guess Billy Gunn came over and talked us through the match and what we're going to do. And
they let me have a lot, though, too.
Yeah, they didn't give me shit. They gave it all to him. I said, I don't care. But no, I was, I think I took their finisher, and I remember because that was the same night I worked Mark Merrow. And Mark Merrow and I were not supposed to go on until like the 4th hour, and we worked them in the 1st hour. They moved Mark's match up. So I took the finisher from done. People tell me I sucked. I'm walking back. And then all of a sudden, one match happens, and then they put me and Mark out there, and they're like, "You again?" They're yelling at me as soon as I walked out. And it was good though. But I was done. I was done for the night, so I was happy. But that was Mark's only match that he had, so he asked them to move him up, and they did. So, but I remember that match went pretty smooth. Nothing unusual.
No, it was smooth. Yeah.
Yeah, they gave Frank got a lot in.
Yeah,
they gave Frank a lot, which I was happy for him. Anytime, I will say this too, just closing, because there were stories of 2 brothers in Pittsburgh, the Fabian brothers, that were working each other. One said he was the other one to get the match out there, kind of like took the match away from his own brother, and there was heat for them together for a while. We would have never have done that to each other. We were actual brothers, I think. And
yeah, we were all happy for each other. I mean, we were you pushed each other.
When he did well, when it was my turn to put him over in WWF, I did it in a heartbeat. I said, yes, absolutely. You remember that? I didn't even hesitate.
Yeah.
Sure. I'd put him over anytime. And I think Sean Casey put me over. I had my one, I was his one WWF win. My one WWF win was given to me in my hometown as a dark match against Sean Casey. And that was in March of '99. I think you remember that the Gria came up with the finish. And I was so happy. I think because then I think it was like 2 months later, I put Sean over in Cincinnati. That was his hometown. It's returning the favors when you get it. And I consider Sean a brother too. And it's just Frank and I have been brothers. We've been friends for 30 years now.
Yeah,
30 years we've been friends, and it hasn't had we've always gotten along. People, it's like they say, not because we weren't jealous of each other when he was successful.
That's the thing. You didn't have any of that.
No, I was happy for him. He was happy for me. He gets a rat that night. I'm happy for him. I get the rat that night. He's happy for me. Which is good.
Give and take.
Give and take. Yeah. Oh, wait, I'm getting the fat one tonight.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Tremendous. Where can folks?
Right there. You remember that story?
Maybe for part 2.
For the team, she had a friend with her that was fat. And he goes, "Luke, just help me here." I'm like, "All right, Jesus Christ."
That's old school. That's old school brotherhood right there.
Yes, it is.
Where can the fans find you both on social media if you have those contacts? And do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, I was showing him how to use his iPhone.
He showed me how to use my iPhone.
I'm on Instagram at Marconi 251. I do a Sunday show on Rumble with Corey Castle. I'm sure if you know, we do the Sunday Stew Pot. We tape it. And actually, what we're trying to do tomorrow, we're going to do a watch party of the South Park episode of Into the Panderverse, and we're going to air it on Rumble. That's what we're going to do. We're going to comment on that because I love it. Because the thing that drives me nuts about Hollywood now is they pander to these people. They're replacing old school characters with like, oh, we got to put a person, we got to have diversity and do this. Diversity is great. Write stories for that. Don't ruin the old ones. Write new ones. That's just it. But
did they ever figure out who killed Kenny?
No, he kills himself most of the time. But we're going to do that. And Corey and I, you know, we're getting a following on the show. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Marconi251. I'm on Facebook and I have Twitter at Marconi1973. So I'm all over the place.
And if you want to get a hold of me, tell Lou will contact me.
Yeah, that's how I do it.
It's that simple.
It's hilarious. Like, where's Frank's Facebook page? He doesn't have one. He's probably much more well adjusted because of it.
Yeah,
I would say, because I tell him the stuff that goes on and everything. So
yes.
Also, I got a gig too. I work as a sports beat writer for the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Cleveland Browns for CLE Sports Talk. So I write articles regularly for them. So you can find me on there as well. So yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate this, man. This is great. We could tell we didn't even scratch the surface, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
he's like, you know, he's my brother. Always. I consider my brother.
If you're both able, sometime we'll definitely back again and get into those stories that the fans love to hear, and encourage the fans to keep up with you, Lou, on social media and your endeavors. And I want to thank you both for your time tonight.
Hey, no problem. Anytime.
We appreciate this
this offer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Opportunity. It all seems like yesterday. You blink and you're in your 50s. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, the funny thing was right before this, we were just talking about how much fun we used to have.
Yeah.
It was just so much fun.
It was a blast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, there were stories about me just getting drunk. You remember you were trying to find me and I was passed out in my backyard?
Okay.
He's like trying to find me for a show and I'm passed out. He's knocking on my door. And I'm passed out.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Maybe part 2 we'll call stories from outside of the ring and tap that well. But yeah.
Oh, we got plenty of them. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think we got as many stories like Marty Jannetty would, but we do.
Well,
not necessarily, but
what you were supposed to work Marty and they couldn't find him. You remember that of WWF and you end up working Scorpio?
Yeah.
Flash Funk. Yeah. They couldn't find Marty. He was in the parking lot sleeping.
Or the bowling alley.
Yeah.
It was just like he was sleeping in the locker rooms and like Bob Hollywood telling him, dude, don't. They're gonna give us all drug tests. And he didn't care. He just went to sleep. And I'm like, it's like you could just see he was gonna get in trouble. He just kind of knew it.
A legendary partier in his own right. But yes, let's do this again very soon. But until that time, fans, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Cheap Heat
Thank you for having us. We really
Wrestling Podcast.
We're grateful, guys. We love you.
Yeah,
right.
Frank and
Take
Lou,
care.
awesome. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.